Hello, beautiful consumers. Thank you for joining us for UNICAST. I'm Unicole Unicron.
This is Jeremy Garner.
The Muscle Dragon.
And we are here to talk to you today about time.
Where do we begin with time?
I think like an awkward pause is a great place to begin. Like, how much time is an awkward pause? How much time before the pause is awkward? What is time?
I think time's an illusion.
An illusion? How can it be an illusion if watches are real?
Well, it's real in the sense that we can measure it, but is it actually there, though?
But, like, how could it not be there if we could measure it? How could you measure something that's not there?
I mean, are we just measuring a stage of something, but it's not a physical thing you could travel to?
Yeah. I see it kind of as, like, something that exists on some dimensions, but not all dimensions. We experience time in weird ways that we think are, like, we think of time as consistent, but it's obviously not, right? Like, Jeremy, you made that video about, will you explain what that video is about? Because I love the way you explain that.
It's like a deep concept, but it's mostly the idea that it's more of a perception thing. I personally believe that time does exist, but that it's different. It's perceived differently for every person. So it can be sped up or slowed down on a personal level. Like we have power over time rather than time having power over us. So basically, that video was about taking back control of that time so that you can speed it up or slow it down. You can take control of time rather than time controlling you. But I don't think it would truly disappear. Like I think of time on this planet as a real thing, but it's pretty much an illusion in the sense that we can change it to suit, so we can pretty much live in an eternal now.
An eternal now? Like, what is an eternal now?
Well, okay, it's like if you think of time like a hallway, and at the end of the hallway is death. The way I look at it is, like, the world is kind of trying to rush and trying to get everything done really fast, because they're scared that they're running out of time. So they're literally running down the hallway thinking that they're saving time by, like, doing everything really, really fast. And basically all that does is speeds up your life considerably and makes you die quicker. So you're running to your death thinking that you're running out of time. You literally are running out of time because you're running. And so I think when you slow down and you take your time, again, you're taking more time by slowing down, then you have more time because you're taking more time. So it's like the people that go really slow through life and are just like walking down the hallway or even stopping and just looking around at their surroundings and not moving at all, time stops for that moment.
My first thought is like, oh, well, then what, you could live to be, 700 years old? But it's not about that, because you could live to be the same, 75 as anybody, and, like, have that 75 be, like, way longer or shorter.
The number itself means absolutely nothing, just in the same way that the same moment can be really long to one person and really short to another person.
So you're saying time is straight based up only on perception and it's not a concrete... Yeah. Okay. I think past, present, and future happens all at the same time.
Yeah, I've heard similar things. That's a cool concept.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What makes you feel that way?
I feel that way because, like, how is it possible that we can have dreams and visions that come true of events that haven't happened yet? And, like, theoretically, that should be impossible to have a dream of something that hasn't happened and then it happens.
That's always confused me as well, because it always made me think, do we really have free will if we're being told about something a year before it happens and then it happens? It's like, how could all of that be in place? That's totally possible that they're all kind of in this now, past, present, and future.
It does feel a little disempowering, to think that the future's already happened.
I think there might be a set course of actions, like you could call it maybe destiny or fate, but I think you can always carve your own path and make your own choices. But if you don't deviate from the plan, then you might go to whatever was supposed to happen.
How would you deviate? Wouldn't that already be part of the plan?
No, I think there's, like, certain options that you could take, but if you don't take those options, then, like, option A was what was meant to happen, but if you didn't do anything, then it would happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that brings us into like timelines. Like in time travel movies and stuff, there's always multiple timelines. So if you could theoretically time travel, like, do you guys think that there are infinite timelines happening with infinite possibilities all at the same time, or do you think there's only one timeline?
Okay, this is my favorite part of time. I think that if we could travel through time and change things, we'll be entering like maybe alternate realities instead of the same timeline we were in. Because like the whole grandfather paradox, like what if we went back in time to kill our grandfather? If we succeeded and killed him, how would we have existed to go back in time to kill him in the first place?
So you think that that's like a separate grandpa?
Yeah, I think it's your grandpa, but it's in a different timeline. Like I don't know if you guys ever seen that anime called Steins Gate. It dealt with a whole bunch of different world lines and how there's pretty much like infinite number of world lines which are alternate realities. Like instead of you went right, you could have went left, and every decision you make is a completely different timeline.
And they all exist simultaneously. So
Yes.
whatever you choose, they're all actually there. Okay, that's yeah. I've heard about it, but I've never really thought too deeply about that.
So if that's true, do you guys think that you as a person, then that means there are infinite yous, right, existing in all these dimensions. Do you think
Yes.
that you're connected to those other yous?
See, if we are connected, that could be where deja vu comes from, because maybe us in another timeline experienced something similar or the same thing, and now maybe we're catching up and we're getting in sync with that thought.
That's
What do you think
interesting.
the purpose would be in having all of these timelines?
I think the purpose of having all those timelines would to be to solidify the fact that anything is possible. And like if we do create our own realities, all of those realities have to exist somewhere. And if we were constantly like vibrating between different timelines, then it would only make sense that they would have to exist so we could transition to something that's already real since they already
Mm.
exist.
Or what if you're just like, if every person has their own ability to travel on infinite timelines, but there's only one consciousness of you. So you can tap into another timeline based on your own decisions, and the other ones are just kind of sitting dormant, and everybody's on their own timelines. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
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 I
that's
get
so
what you
interesting.
mean.
Because
Okay,
like,
I have actually like a strange story
go for
that
it.
kind of relates to this. But I mean, it's borderline insane though.
This Unicast. Say whatever you want.
Okay, well, probably maybe like a year ago, I was on Netflix and I was binge watching Heroes. I don't know if you two are familiar with that show.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay, well,
haven't watched
there's a character on this show. His name's Hero, and he can travel through time and pause time, and he's like a time. His power is like time, right? So after I was watching, I was thinking, I wonder if I focus really hard, and meditated, could I travel through time? And I said, well, I have nothing to lose, so like I was in my room and I was focusing really hard and I was trying to do a certain type of meditation that I developed. And the clock, it was 3 a.m. when I started. When I finished and I opened my eyes, it was 2:45.
Wow. Yeah, I've actually had that happen to me as well before. Like this whole thing of time going backwards. That only on
it.
one
Really?
occasion. Yeah.
That's amazing. I believe you both.
Like I don't know, like did I actually travel through time? And if I did travel through time, does that mean I'm in like a different reality? And what happened to the reality that I traveled from, or am I in the same one?
Well, I think since you were just sitting there meditating, like nothing really changed, right? You
Nothing
just got more
changes.
time.
Yeah, but it was like a 15-minute difference.
Yeah, for me it was like a whole hour, just a whole hour just backwards.
Was it daylight savings?
Yeah, that wouldn't even surprise me with me.
I mean, it's so interesting. Like in movies and stuff, they're always using. I guess in that show, it sounds like he could just do it meditating, but it's not like they're always using machines and stuff. But if it's a telepathic or like a psychic ability, that we could psychically change and travel through time, that is like a whole world of possibility because it's not like a limited technology at that point. Then anybody could do it. It would just be a mess.
But the weird thing is, it's not like anything changed. Like, say I'd had a conversation with somebody in that hour, and then it goes back an hour. I would have still had that conversation with them, and I find that really weird. It's almost like the number has changed, and technically the time changed in the physical realm, but nothing. experience-wise actually did change, which probably comes back to that whole idea that time is more of a perception thing and it can be changed around and moved forward and backwards, but it doesn't really change anything to do with the eternal now.
But what if he changed to a timeline that was just so similar to the one you were on? It was a real subtle difference that you couldn't pick up on.
That is totally possible. I mean, there's a lot of people that claim this has happened to them. That there's
Really?
little hints and clues. Yeah, I mean, like they think there's lots of clues through their reality that are kind of pointing towards that.
Oh yeah, like the Bernstein Bear thing.
Yeah, that kind of blew my mind because those are always Berenstein Bears to me, not Berenstain.
Has anybody like tried to track down if like maybe there was just like a publishing error or like the books were printed in different ways?
Well, that's like only one thing out of so many though. Like people, like they think like I think like a much more well-known one is like with the whole Darth Vader and Star Wars, and
Yep.
everybody is like so familiar with him saying, "Luke, I am your father," and then it's like now we're being told that he actually said, what does he say? I don't even know.
They say he says no, I am your father.
Yeah,
But I
yeah. So
always
now
remember it as Luke, I am your father.
I knew
yeah,
it
and
was that
same.
too.
And
Everybody always says that. That's like what everybody says.
Yeah. I don't know. The Mandela effect is pretty crazy in itself.
Yeah, that's the same, right? Everybody
yeah,
remembers him dying and he was
hmm
still alive.
yeah.
It makes me
Well,
uncomfortable.
these are things that are so possible to mistake because they're so similar. Like it would be if everybody did hear Luke rather than no. They're extremely similar words, but
But to think
but I
someone died and they didn't die, that's like a big deal.
yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to time, like, I'm always a little bit more weirded out about it because I've had some strange things. Like, one of my earliest memories, like, even when I was a really young kid, I'm talking like before elementary school, like really young. And I remember when I was younger, I said to my mother that I knew how to travel through time. And I figured it out, but they all just laughed at me and thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I think kids are really, really connected to these abilities. Like, I used to be able to change the weather when I was a kid, and as soon as I like started doubting it, like it stopped working. But I think that
Hmm.
like you probably could as a kid, like. And what do you
Yeah,
say to a kid
definitely.
who says that? You know, you just laugh, but people don't give kids enough credit. I think kids can really do things that they think they can do.
I agree. Totally.
So I wonder if like everybody could have this power, right? Like Muscle Dragon, it sounds like you are like pretty connected to this power, like, and you always have been, and like it sounds like something that you could theoretically develop if you really worked at it. Like it's kind of frightening because like you're saying like, well, am I going to end up on different timelines? Like what are the implications of this? Because we've been exposed to so much media where the implications are really dramatic and stuff. But if it's like a natural psychic gift, like I wonder how bad it could be, right? And as you grow into it, like I don't know, I wonder if everybody has that potential, if that's something that like is like a truly like psychic gift that we could all tap into, like we could all be time traveling.
I
We do
think
t-
so.
we do time travel in our minds all the time. We time travel backwards, right? We go into our memories and like so
Yeah, and dreams basically are time travel all the time. It's like everything is all intermingled, and you're seeing people from like that you recognize who you've never actually met in this life before. So it's like, are they from another timeline, or are they from another life, or
yeah, no, when you fall
whatever?
asleep for like 5 minutes and it's been like a lifetime in a
Exactly. Yeah,
dream and
that's
you
another
wake
thing.
up and you're like, oh, it's only been 5 minutes, like that's time travel.
Mm, mm,
And see, also, like, when it comes to time, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with, like, abduction stories and how when people get abducted, they have, like, missing time and they don't know
yeah.
what's happening. What if it's the same thing? Because, like, you know how you guys were saying aliens are more interdimensional or spiritual than physical. What if they're tapping into that same time thought wave, or maybe it is a technology that they're implementing, and we can do the same thing, and we're just losing time that way?
I lose time all the time. I lose time when I'm making art, you know, or like, you know, like you look
Mhm.
at the clock and it's like, whoa, how is it that time? It's always like, how is it that time? I feel that way all the
But
time.
that's really what I was saying by the perception thing, though. It's like by doing something that you love and enjoy, the real time is slowing down when that's happening. So it's like the whole reason that it seems that the clock is speeding up is because the time within us has slowed down, which is why we have so much more energy to create art and why it seems like the clock is going so fast because time has slowed down because you're doing something you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
which gives the impression that the clock is sped up. But it's like one of those concepts that's almost impossible to put into words. It's like you just have to see it. But it works.
Because, yeah, based on your own perception of time, if you were to be able to ignore, if you didn't have any clock at all, it would feel like you were just enjoying that time.
Yeah, like an hour would go by, and then the clock's trying to tell you that it's been 10 hours or whatever. And you know that that doesn't seem right because you've got the same amount of energy that you would have if you'd only been working for 1 hour. And you
Right,
have,
so if the clock didn't exist, it would just be 1 hour to you.
exactly. And my theory is that it really has only been however it feels. So to me, time is exactly how it feels. So if you took away all the clocks, it would just be however you feel. So if it feels like it's been really long or really short, then that's true. And so if you want to live longer, you want it to feel like time is slowing down. But in order to do that with clocks, it means that we have to have the clocks speeding up. So basically, the whole illusion of time is that when clocks are going really, really fast and you think you're losing all this time, you're actually gaining time. So the faster the clock is going, the more time you've got and the longer you will live. Which means, and you know, the clock only ever speeds up when you're having really fun time. So if you're out enjoying yourself or doing something that you love, the clock will speed up, which means you have more time. And it's the other way around as well.
Isn't it strange that it's the same with everyone? Time flies when you're having fun. Like, it's so common for us just to say that and know that and experience that, and it doesn't even really, like, make us feel weird at all. Like, because we just accept it.
We just accept it, but it's really strange that you're having like a miserable time at work and it seems like the clock's slowing right down and you feel like time, you know, like everything's slowed down. I mean, the whole reason it's doing that is because you're doing something you hate, so time is speeding up because it's like it doesn't want you to be doing something that you hate. So it speeds up because clearly you're not enjoying yourself, but that gives the impression that the clock is slowing down. It's so hard to explain it, but it makes so much sense when you just live it because it means.
It's such a crazy like I get it sometimes and then I lose my understanding of
I know,
it. Like,
same. That's the same for me.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I totally get it, and it seems like it's an inverse type of thing going back and forth. But where I kind of get stuck is, like, what about plants, or like even us, and you look at their growth cycle, or like how we were a baby and now we're this size, or like a plant can start as a seedling and then it starts to bloom and all that stuff. So isn't something actually happen?
Is there another time that's outside of our understanding of time? That's a good question. Like, do plants have their own conception of time?
But when we see a plant, like, the speed of its growth is completely down to us. Like, we can't look at a plant and say, well, that took 7 days to grow to this height. Because if you were having really, like, a lot of fun watching the plant, and you had your best music on, and you were just, like, really, really loving watching the plant, it seems like the plant grew in a day. But somebody else who's like, I don't want to be doing this, and they're just watching the plant, like, really bored with this clock ticking in the background, and it seems like it takes, like, 24 days for the plant to grow. Then two people have watched the same plant, and it's grown at different speeds for each of those people.
What about the plant?
Well, it depends on how the plant perceives time. This is where like when you were saying time doesn't exist, I think that's where that comes in because it really doesn't exist other than what we've put on it. So like the plant just grows. It's not like thinking of a specific time.
So if time is just perception, could we physically travel there to a different location? Like, could we go back to 1915?
I don't think we can, like myself.
Can we go to 2055?
I think being in the future, you can definitely time travel to the future.
We're doing it. It's
exactly.
happening.
but I don't really know how to time travel to the past.
Memories.
Memories, yeah, that would work.
Now we can send messages kind of through time by recording video or audio and then watching it at a different date, and that would kind of be time travel.
That's a good way of putting it. That's so
I
true.
send messages to the future. I record specific videos just for people in the future.
Hear this audio in 2055.
Yeah, and we're traveling to 2055 because I bet this podcast will still exist. They'll listen to it and they'll be like, haha, it's 2055.
It might be us hearing it.
So if we can send our thoughts and audio and visuals through time, then we should physically be able to travel through time as well.
If we could encapsulate
I think we can through dreams and through spiritual means, like
More mental.
with the whole, yeah, like you can through meditation and stuff. I mean, anything's possible, but I wouldn't personally know how to like submerge my physical body in a past timeline. But I could definitely go there spiritually and see exactly what happened and watch it all like a film.
I was gonna say personally, I don't know how to like travel through time on a whim because if I did, I think all of the problems would be solved. But I feel like I have traveled through time physically before, you know.
Yeah,
We're
that's
traveling through
incredible.
time right now. Every day, every minute, every second.
Yeah,
That's
true.
true.
I'm gonna say something unrelated. Okay. If the oh, hang on. I'm gonna turn this off. Hang on 1 second. Okay, if the audience's mind is blown as much as my mind is blown, then you should donate $2.22 to the link in the podcast. So if you enjoy this podcast, please donate. Helps us keep making them and continuing on with time.
So I feel like you two are the best people to share with, you know, these weird stories I have, especially if you don't mind me telling you other ones I have.
Yeah, we love
Yeah.
hearing them. Just remember the
Okay.
world is hearing them. The world is hearing them too.
Yeah, I know. I figure the people listening to this are pretty much on the same page that we are.
Hmm.
It's good, you know, they can give their insight as well. They could comment and reach out and
Hmm.
say their opinions. I mean, certain
I think
things I won't say because it's being recorded, and maybe my paranoia or like conspiracy theorist me might get in the way of that.
I
And
Hmm.
think it's so important to share our experiences though, and like to kind of
Yeah,
open up the possibilities to the people who are listening, even if they're not on the same page as us, because anything is possible. And the fact that we all have our own realities and every person's reality is legitimate, like I don't know, I really honor that, and I think that personal
yeah, I
stories like
agree. I
this,
love that.
especially if they're like really wild and outside of like the normal understanding of what is possible, are essential to society as a whole because it shows where we can travel and like what we can achieve.
okay, I'll try to condense the story down to for the sake of time. One time, this one's pretty recent. This was like within months, I would say. So I was sleeping. I had a crazy dream, and I woke up. When I woke up, I looked over at where my TV is, and it was in standby. And you know how, like, when an electronic device is on standby mode, they'll have, like, maybe a red light?
Hmm.
Well, that red light floated away from the TV and, like, moved around my shelving unit. And I thought that was pretty weird. And in the corner of my eye, I saw, like, a shadow figure sitting on the couch that's in my room. So then I went to turn, and like it freaked me out. I was like, "Oh, this is crazy! I gotta go tell my brother what just happened." So I walked to my bedroom door and I touched the doorknob. But as soon as I touched the doorknob to open it, I found myself back on my bed, and I thought, that's weird." I was like, "Was that just like a dream within a dream or something?" Because like I've had those before, but I knew I was awake. So I just walked to the door again, and I went to touch the doorknob, and instantly I was back on my bed. So like I repeated this process a few times, but then I started getting really frustrated and angry because like every time I would get to my door, I would like respawn back on my bed. So like then I picked up my phone and threw it at the wall, and as soon as it left my hand, it appeared right beside me where I picked it up. So like meanwhile, I hear somebody's like walking upstairs. So like I'm screaming and yelling for like help for someone to come down to me because I'm like someone should definitely be able to hear me, and no one's answering, and like I'm really getting mad, and like right now I feel kind of tired and like heavy, and like the room seems extra dark. Like of course my room's dark, but I mean it seems extra dark. And no matter what I do, like I can't even tell you how many times I went back and forth to my door or how many times I threw my phone at the door trying to make some type of noise so someone would come. I threw my phone at the ceiling, and the same thing would happen every time my phone would leave my hand. It would reappear on the ground. So eventually, like I'm telling you, I got really frustrated. I didn't know what was happening. I started like cussing like a sailor and like throwing things around. But I realized that wasn't getting me anywhere, so I needed to calm down and focus. And I started to just sit there, and I was thinking, and then I heard like this weird voice tell me that if I want to escape this, I have to like fight fire with fire. Like it was weird. I didn't know what was going on, so I decided to like just meditate. And when I did, I saw this strange face. It was like feminine, but it could be male as well. Like I don't even know like what it was. It was a weird, strange type of face that I've only seen like maybe three other times that I realized I've seen it after this event. But at the time, I was just shocked by this face. And when I saw this face, it was like had a strange energy rush. You know, it was almost like an orgasm, but it wasn't anything like sexual going on at all. It was just a weird rush of energy. And like when I saw it, then that's when I broke free of it, and I walked to the door, but I was a little nervous because like is the same thing gonna happen again? So I tried to find a pad and paper to write this down, and then I walked to the door, and this time the door opened.
How do you interpret that? Like, what do you think happened? Because it sounds a lot like a lucid dream, but kind of like more like a lucid nightmare.
It's like an out of body experience. It really sounds like.
See,
Yeah.
and I thought that too. So like afterwards, I went up to my brother to make sure like I was truly awake, and I told him, "Hey, go check my room just in case like I'm asleep right now, and like you're just getting like a feeling to go check on me." And he went to check, and like I was awake, and like remember how I said like I was yelling because I thought I heard someone up, and I went into the kitchen and I could smell insulin. So someone was in there, and now they were gone. So that means I was awake and I was aware of my surroundings.
Yeah, I've like submerged myself into kind of parallel dimensions before where it seems very physical. That to me is like how I've been in contact with extraterrestrials because I somehow end up in this kind of parallel world where it's not like an astral thing and it's not a dream, but it's not actually in the third dimension either. It's kind of like this other parallel world where it's very physical, but you're not actually technically physically there. I'd love to know if the physical body is still visible during those experiences to other people or what actually happens, but I've definitely experienced the same kind of thing. And that whole loop thing that you talked about, like this time loop where you kept going to the door and then just being like straight back to your bed, like that same thing has happened to me as well, where I got stuck in a like time loop in one of those kind of parallel experiences where I had to overcome something within myself before I was able to get free of that, because I was going towards the door and I kept kind of tripping on a cord and starting to fall backwards, and I would hit my head on the back of some kind of shelf, like this sharp thing, and it would knock me unconscious, and then I'd wake up again, forget where I am, and then do the whole thing over and over and over and over again. But I found that the reason that I was tripping over the cord was because in this experience I had no clothes on, and I could feel somebody, I could see somebody through the closed curtains, like their shadow coming up to the door to like enter into the room, and I was so worried that they were gonna like open the door and see me naked that I kept like tripping over this cord and hitting my head. And it wasn't until after experiencing this time loop literally like at least 50 times over and over, and it became so scary because I thought I'd never be able to get out of it. Then I finally let go of my fears of being seen naked. So, and it wasn't until that point when I wouldn't trip over the cord. So it was like it was on this loop until I finally figured out what it was trying to tell me. I don't know if that actually applies at all to what you just explained with your
It
phone
sounds
and the
so
door. And
similar, especially even with like the shadow figure and like I mean
yeah,
like definitely different situations, but like it sounds like the same realm. And I wonder if that
it's so
has to
yeah,
do with these things we're talking about with the multiple timelines and like if that is like a weird like middle ground between two
yeah,
timelines where you have to make a certain choice or like you have to like overcome something in order to like progress in time.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
That's what it sounds
extremely
like.
interesting. And it definitely does sound the same.
Mm.
Like the only thing difference for me is like I didn't have to really come to terms with anything. It was just when I finally like meditated and I saw that face, it's what kind of helped me get out of it. But
But I bet that
So what
face
is
is significant to you in some way, either in a
yeah?
past
That's what I
life
was
or another
thinking.
realm. Like, I bet that like you making that decision to do that is more significant than you might even realize.
I agree, because like the whole idea that you had to like give up on the fight and like just lie down and meditate, and it wasn't until that time then you saw the face and then you got free of it. That's so similar.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
because you
true.
you did have to stop like fighting the thing.
Yeah.
Man, I wonder how many people have experienced things like that, because I have
Yeah.
never heard of it, but for you both to have experienced something similar is
Yeah, I've never heard anybody say that. It wasn't like when you just explained that story, I was like tripping out about that because it's like I've never heard anyone explain something like that before. But it shows there must be people all around the world that are experiencing these types of things. It's
my
amazing.
my
It's
dad's explained like lucid dreams in a similar way, where he gets so frustrated because like none of the lights will work in the house, and he just keeps getting up and trying the lights and keeps getting up and trying the lights and keeps getting up, and then finally when he knows he's awake, finally, because the lights will turn on.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
like one
still
of the
pretty
main
different.
like keys to wake up in your dreams is to flick the light switch. Like to me, that sometimes in dreams that hasn't even worked. Like I use that to try and trigger myself into a lucid dream, and I'll flick the light and it will work perfectly, and then I won't realize that I'm dreaming. So it can work the other way as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I really don't know what to make of that. But the only other time I've seen that face was during another extremely weird time that I don't know if it was real, a dream, outer body experience, or what. And then the other time I've seen the face was actually during that Christina Martin Connect with Your Spirit Guide. It was the
Oh
same,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was the same entity from that loop that helped me
See,
out of that loop.
it is a significant thing for you to look at. It is a significant being for you. It's like a guide for you.
Mm.
Wow, these are, yeah, this is like, this topic has blown my mind. I feel like I've thought a lot about time. You know, I made that song about time, and like, I
Mm.
basically, like, my understanding of time is just that progression matters more than time. Like, we shouldn't even really worry about time, that we should just worry about, you know, how we progress, and that should be our focus rather than, and you know, being
Yeah.
raised female and like just the fear of aging, you know, just being just like advertised to you in every commercial, like this obsession with youth um and all that is just like so nice to just be like, I don't even acknowledge that. Like I only acknowledge progression, and in that way, like as I grow, I honor my growth. And
Mm.
but I haven't like thought about it in all the ways you guys are saying, like about perception. And
Like time is weird because like where I'm at, it's like 11:23, and it's completely different from where you two are at.
I mean, Jeremy's in summer.
Yeah, it's the fall over here, about to enter into winter.
Mhm.
But technically, like, isn't it like the same? It should be the same time for all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, even just us being able to talk makes it kind of the same time, right? Because we're all sharing this same time. And
Yeah.
even
This
like
moment.
Jeremy's even in a day ahead in the future. Jeremy's in Saturday right now, and we're in Friday.
Yeah. How trippy is that? It's all words, you know. It's like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not like
just,
it's not a tangible thing.
Yeah, time can be pretty trippy and weird.
I think
But
it's
we do.
because we do recognize that it's like so not like we are thinking of it. Like we know that it's not. And so when we start to like try to understand it, it's just like,
And
Yeah.
all we
I
have is the
think so.
moment. All we have is the
Yeah.
moment.
Exactly.
the eternal now.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think time is all about cycles, and we do have real like things how we can observe time, even if it is just perception. Because like, look at the phases of the moon,
Mhm.
and look at the sun. Like, how do we explain that? Those might be like cosmic time pieces.
Mm.
It feels that way, doesn't it? Like, because they are especially connected. Like, like as a female, my physical body is connected to the cycles of the moon. It's like the same amount of time passes between my menstrual cycles with
Mm.
the moon.
See, that's extremely weird. And when I first heard about that, that kind of blew my mind with women being linked to the moon. But I mean, some cultures believe that reincarnation is linked with like the moon cycle as well. So who knows?
It's all connected. Like it's all connected.
Yeah.
We're all connected to everything.
So do you think like after having this time discussion, we'll all perceive our personal time differently?
I think it'll definitely have some kind of an effect because our minds have been on it.
Yeah, I think with the potential for time travel now in my mind, like I never have really considered the fact that you could travel through time potentially, you know, through meditation and stuff. More than just like, you know, the little like trick of me saying like, oh, we're traveling through time now, or like we're remembering things. That's time travel. You know, like to be able to change like the clock. I think that's really interesting, and I might experiment with that a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's 100%. I think it's 1,000% possible that everyone can travel through time by activating it just through their mind.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
knowing the potential. Like anything is possible.
I think it's
I don't
possible
know.
that we could travel through time physically and literally, like right now, if we wanted to.
Back to the beginning of the podcast.
Yes.
I don't want to. I'm mind blown.
Yeah, let's try it.
I
We'll go back
want to.
we'll go back to the beginning of the podcast.
Hello, beloved consumers. Thank you for joining us for UNICAST. I'm Unicole Unicron.
And this is Jeremy Garner.
The muscle dragon.
Today we're going to talk about time.
See, we've like changed it now. It didn't start out like that last time.
I think that would be a great thing to end it on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Just start it back at the beginning.
To be honest, for a split second, I almost freaked out because I thought it worked.
We're gonna go through the whole time.
Like
Sure.
the cadence of how you said it, I thought we actually traveled through time.
Yeah, you said it so convincing that it sounds.
Okay, so I have a question. If everybody on the planet woke up one day and was just convinced that it was like a different day,
Like all
Then-
different from each other.
hopefully not. That would be a mess. I wonder if anyone would even notice. But like everyone would just be like, "Wow, is it Tuesday? I really thought it was Wednesday."
I thought it was Wednesday.
What if that's happened? You feel? Oh my gosh. Okay, no. What if everyone woke up and they're like, "I thought it was the 15th," and like all the computers say it's like the 12th, and like
Mhm.
everyone is like, "No, I swear it's the 15th."
Yeah.
But like every physical thing said different. Do you think what would happen on the planet? Would people go crazy? Or would we all just like accept it and not even question it?
I think the majority of people would accept it. Like the ones who generally just don't question anything would just think they were wrong and go with the flow. But I think like the other community would question it or go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because see, they could
Yeah.
easily pull that trick on us now that you say it, because like they control the internet and they control the news and TV. So let's say instead of today being whatever day it is, they said it was another day in another year. What if they said this was the year 2012? And every news station you turned on said it was 2012. Good morning. You know, you looked at your everything, but but your phone said it. The only thing that didn't say it was like your calendar in your house or
Your checkbook or
yeah.
yeah, that'd
Like,
be wild.
What would you believe?
My journal. What would you believe, Jeremy?
To me, it's not any year. I don't even think like that. Like it's no different. It would be no different because I
You
literally.
like- Because it's the eternal now. It's today. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what year it is. It doesn't matter what
Yeah.
day it is. The world's going to chaos, and Jeremy's just like chilling.
You spell now backwards,
Now backwards.
and then
One.
you've won.
What's backwards from now, though? Then?
What?
I'm just as confused.
This is I think we stretched our brains to their
Yeah.
stretchiest.
Yeah, I agree. Time is just fucked up.
I
Yeah.
think we need to take a nap.
Yeah, I
I
think you
think-
should say your perception thing one more time, Jeremy.
Well, I think it's all summed up in a great quote that Federico Fellini once said, and he said, "There is no end, there is no beginning, there is only the infinite passion of life."
Infinite passion of life.
You are inevitably going to die. So why don't you try opening up your third eye? isn't like you think. The world is exactly like you think it is.